Elon Musk has enough money to buy a new Lamborghini every single day for the rest of his life. But instead of spending his time flexing supercars, he was emailing Jeffrey Epstein asking, "What night will be the wildest party on your island?" In late January 2026, the Department of Justice released 3 million pages of documents from the Epstein investigation. Hidden in those files were emails, schedules, and flight logs connecting the world's richest men to one of history's most notorious criminals. According to draft emails Epstein wrote to himself, Bill Gates allegedly caught an STD from Russian girls Epstein arranged. Peter Thiel had scheduled lunch dates for years after Epstein's conviction. An Indian billionaire asked Epstein to arrange a tall Swedish blonde for him. And a celebrity doctor who appeared 1,700 times in the files watched his entire career implode in 72 hours. This is the Billionaire Epstein Files tier list. Let's get into it. S tier, the Island Boys, Elon Musk. Let's start with the richest man on Earth. Elon Musk's net worth is $851 billion. That's enough money to buy every single Tesla ever produced and still have billions left over. But according to newly released emails, Elon was more interested in a different kind of ride. In November 2012, Elon sent Jeffrey Epstein an email asking, "What day-night will be the wildest party on your island?" Now, this was 3 years after Epstein's 2008 conviction for soliciting prostitution from a minor. Epstein was literally a registered sex offender when Elon was asking about party schedules. But it gets worse. A December 2014 calendar entry from Epstein's assistant read, "Elon Musk to Island." For years, Elon has maintained that he refused all invitations to Epstein's island. He's tweeted about it, talked about it in interviews, even called people liars for suggesting otherwise. According to the documents, a planned visit 2013 was canceled by Epstein, not Musk, meaning Elon was ready to go, but Epstein ghosted him. When confronted about the emails, Musk's lawyers said they could be misinterpreted. Be serious. How do you misinterpret "what night will be the wildest party"? That's not a typo, that's a feature request. Elon appeared in at least 16 different email exchanges with Epstein between 2012 and 2013. That's not a one-time thing, that's a pen-pal relationship. But here's the kicker. While all this was happening, Elon was facing multiple crises in early 2026. His AI chatbot Grok was caught generating deepfake porn of real people. French police raided his company's offices in Paris. The SEC sued him for securities fraud. Tesla sales dropped 40% in Europe. And then the Epstein files dropped. Elon gets S tier because in these emails, he's doing elite-level glazing. Asking what night is the wildest party is desperate behavior. He's the richest man on Earth, begging for an invite like a college freshman trying to get into a frat party. And then he lied about it for years. The man is cooked and yet untouchable. Bill Gates. Bill Gates has a net worth of $150 billion and a reputation as one of the world's greatest philanthropists. He's donated billions to fight malaria, improve global health, and save children's lives. So, naturally, according to documents in the Epstein files, things got complicated. Draft emails that Epstein wrote to himself in 2013 allege that Bill Gates contracted a sexually transmitted disease from Russian girls that Epstein had arranged, and that Gates asked Epstein to help him obtain antibiotics to surreptitiously give to his wife, Melinda, without her knowing. Gates has called these allegations absolutely absurd and completely false. But here's the thing Gates doesn't deny. He met with Epstein multiple times after the conviction. Gates flew on Epstein's private jet, visited his Manhattan townhouse, had dinner at his estate. When asked why, he said he was exploring philanthropy connections. Yes, the convicted sex offender was apparently Bill Gates's philanthropic networking opportunity. Melinda Gates later said meeting Epstein was a huge mistake and that she warned Bill about him. She filed for divorce in 2021. The settlement was $76 billion. Bill Gates spent decades eradicating diseases in Africa.
couldn't eradicate the one that cost him $76 billion. That's the most expensive mistake in human history. Gates gets S tier not because the STD allegations are proven, they're not, but because he definitely hung out with Epstein repeatedly after the conviction, definitely didn't disclose it initially, and definitely paid $76 billion to make his marriage problems go away shortly after the story dropped. The math is mathing.
A tier, the regulars. Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel co-founded PayPal, was the first outside investor in Facebook, and is worth $11 billion. He once wrote, "I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible." So, obviously, he had lunch dates with a sex trafficker for years. Peter Thiel appeared in thousands of documents. From 2014 to 2017, years after Epstein's conviction, Thiel kept meeting with Epstein. This wasn't a one-time, I didn't know who he was situation. This was a standing reservation. One email from 2015 shows Thiel writing to Epstein's scheduler, looking forward to catching up. Catching up with a convicted sex offender, like their old college buddies grabbing brunch. Thiel has not commented on the documents. He's been too busy moving to Miami to avoid California's proposed billionaire tax and donating $3 million to fight it. When you're keeping lunch appointments with a convicted criminal longer than most people keep gym memberships, you've made some choices. Peter Thiel gets A tier because loyalty is admirable, but not when it's to Jeffrey Epstein. Anil Ambani. Anil Ambani is the chairman of India's Reliance Group. His brother Mukesh is Asia's richest man with a net worth of $98 billion. Anil, however, not so much. His fortune collapsed over the last decade. He's currently under investigation for $4.4 billion in alleged bank fraud. But back in 2017, he was rich enough to be texting Jeffrey Epstein about women. According to documents released in January 2026, Ambani and Epstein communicated regularly from 2017 to 2019. They discussed business, world politics, and, naturally, Ambani's preferences in women. On March 9, 2017, Ambani asked Epstein, "K, who do you suggest?" Epstein's response, "A tall Swedish blonde woman to make it fun to visit." Ambani replied in under 20 seconds, "Arrange that." He ordered a human being faster than you order an Uber. But it gets better. Epstein then asked, "Is there an actress or model that represents your proclivity? I hope not Meryl Streep. I will be of no help." Ambani's response, "Better taste, my friend. Our next movie is with Scarlett Johansson." Epstein, "I am glad you prefer young blondes to old ones." This conversation happened in 2017 when Reliance Entertainment co-produced Ghost in the Shell starring Scarlett Johansson. So to be clear, according to the messages, Ambani was asking Epstein to arrange women for him and casually mentioning his company's Hollywood projects. But the Epstein files reveal something even more interesting about Anil Ambani. He wasn't just Epstein's friend, he was positioning himself as a back channel for India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In May 2019, Ambani met with Epstein at his Manhattan townhouse. After the meeting, Epstein texted Steve Bannon describing a really interesting Modi meeting. According to Epstein's message, Ambani, who he referred to as Modi's guy, told him that no one in Wash speaks to him, and that Modi's main enemy is China, and its proxy in the region, Pakistan. Epstein then suggested to Ambani that Modi might enjoy meeting Steve Bannon because you all share the China problem. Ambani replied, "Sure." Epstein immediately messaged Bannon, "Modi on board." It's unclear if Ambani was authorized by Modi to approve such decisions, as the Indian Ministry of External Affairs dismissed Epstein's claims as trashy ruminations by a convicted criminal. But what we do know is this. According to the documents, Ambani spent years cultivating a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He asked Epstein to arrange women, he used him to try to connect Modi with American political figures, and he visited Epstein's Manhattan townhouse, the same townhouse where prosecutors say sex trafficking occurred. When Ambani told Epstein he'd be visiting New York in May 2019, Epstein offered, "And if there are some people you would like to meet quietly, let me know."
Anil Ambani gets A tier because he wasn't just networking with a sex offender. According to the messages, he was asking him to arrange companionship and claiming to represent India's prime minister. That's not poor judgment, that's a pattern. Sergey Brin. Sergey Brin co-founded Google and is worth $150 billion. He's also in the Epstein files. Newly released emails show Brin exchanged messages with Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's accomplice who's currently serving 20 years in federal prison, about dinners at Epstein's Manhattan townhouse. Brin hasn't responded to requests for comment, which is the billionaire version of pleading the fifth. He gets A tier because when you're texting with the woman who's now in prison for sex trafficking to arrange dinner plans, you don't get to stay quiet and hope everyone forgets.
B tier, the philanthropic alibis. Larry Page. Larry Page co-founded Google with Sergey Brin and is worth $144 billion. He also owns 5 private islands, which sounds excessive until you remember Epstein only needed 1. Page appeared in the Epstein files with connections to Epstein's network, though details are less extensive than others on this list. But here's what we do know. In a 2013 conference, Page said something that aged like milk left in the sun. There's many exciting and important things you could do that you just can't do because they're illegal. Maybe we should set aside a small part of the world where we can try out some new things. Larry, buddy, Epstein already tried that. It was called Little St. James Island. It did not go well. Page gets B tier because he's in the files but managed to avoid the worst of it, probably because he was too busy doing whatever billionaires do on 5 private islands. C tier, the awkward mentions. Richard Branson. He's worth $3 billion and owns his own private island in the Caribbean. He appeared in some Epstein emails, but mostly in the context of being neighbors. Yes, Epstein and Branson were island neighbors. Imagine living next door to Jeffrey Epstein. Your property value would tank faster than Bitcoin in February 2026. Branson has said he met Epstein once in the 1990s and found him creepy, which is the correct response. But also, you were island neighbors for years. C tier because being Epstein's neighbor is suspicious, but not as suspicious as asking about party schedules, scheduling recurring lunch dates, or asking him to arrange women for you. D tier, the career enders. This tier is for the people who weren't billionaires, and that's exactly why they're here. Because when you're worth $50 million instead of $50 billion, you don't survive this. Dr. Peter Attia. Peter Attia was a celebrity longevity doctor with a massive following. Podcasts, book deals, media appearances. At the time the files dropped, he was one of the most trusted health voices in America. He appeared in the Epstein files over 1,700 times. His emails to Epstein included gems like, "I go into JE withdrawal when I don't see him," crude jokes about women, friendly, casual correspondence, treating Epstein like a best friend. This was pure NPC behavior, just standing in Epstein's world waiting for Quest updates. Within 72 hours of the files being released, CBS pulled his planned 60-minute segment. CBS severed all ties with him. His fans turned on him. His entire media empire collapsed. He spent his whole career trying to extend human longevity, only to watch his career expectancy drop to 0 overnight. From longevity expert to career death speedrun, any percent. Lord Mandelson. Peter Mandelson was a senior British politician who called Epstein "my best pal" and received $75,000 in payments from him. After the files dropped, he quit the Labour Party, faced a criminal investigation for misconduct in public office, and became an international embarrassment. Peter Attia and Lord Mandelson get D tier because they prove an important lesson. When you're a billionaire, scandals are temporary. When you're not, they're permanent. Bill Gates can lose $76 billion in a divorce and still be worth $150 billion. Peter Attia loses his reputation and loses everything. Money doesn't just buy you yachts and private jets, it buys you immunity. F tier, the actual tragedy. Before we finish, we need to talk about the real F tier. And it's not any billionaire on this list. This isn't just a story about rich people being reckless with their reputations. This isn't just about hypocrisy or bad judgment or billion-dollar divorces. This is a story about a sex trafficking ring that destroyed lives. The real F tier is the women and girls who were trafficked, abused, and had their childhood stolen by Jeffrey Epstein and the powerful men who enabled him. The billionaires in this tier list lost reputations, they lost money, they lost credibility. The victims lost everything that mattered. Elon Musk can delete his tweets and claim misinterpretation. Bill Gates can write a $76 billion check and move on. Peter Thiel can refuse to comment and fly to Miami. Anil Ambani can dismiss it as old conversations. The victims don't get to move on. They don't get to delete the past. They don't get a do-over. 3 million pages of documents just got released, and we're finally seeing how deep this network went, how many powerful people were involved, how many people knew and did nothing. The files don't bring justice, but they bring visibility, and visibility is the first step.
So what did we learn from 3 million pages of documents? We learned that when you're rich enough, I was doing philanthropy becomes an acceptable excuse for dining with a convicted sex offender. We learned that Elon Musk's emails about wildest parties aged like milk in the Sahara Desert. We learned that Bill Gates' philanthropy reputation couldn't survive his post-conviction meetings with Epstein and a $76 billion divorce. We learned that Peter Thiel scheduled lunch dates with Epstein for 4 straight years and thinks staying silent will make everyone forget. We learned that, according to the documents, Anil Ambani asked a convicted sex offender to arrange women for him in under 20 seconds, then tried to position himself as India's back channel to American power. And we learned that being a billionaire means you can survive almost anything, except maybe 3 million pages of federal documents. The Epstein files revealed something important about power. The ultra-wealthy don't just operate in a different tax bracket, they operate in a different reality, a reality where convicted criminals still get dinner invitations from tech CEOs, where private jets fly to private islands with no questions asked, where "I didn't know" is somehow believable, even when the emails prove otherwise. In 1926, F.C. Fitzgerald wrote, "Let me tell you about the very rich. They are different from you and me." 100 years later, the Epstein files prove he was right. They're different because when you or I would cut ties with a registered sex offender, they schedule another lunch. They're different because when you or I would be investigated, they write a check and it disappears. They're different because they can lose billions in boycotts, face federal lawsuits, and still wake up as the richest person alive. The Epstein files aren't just about one dead criminal's crimes. They're about the living billionaires who thought 3 million pages would never see daylight. Turns out, federal document dumps are harder to hide than private islands. If you made it this far, drop a comment. Which billionaire surprised you most? And if you're a billionaire watching this, maybe reconsider your email habits. Or better yet, reconsider your friends.